Hello all. So in this lecture we will see about assertion, trigger and views in SQL. So this is the outline of this lecture: create assertion and how to create trigger and how to create views will be studied. So create as assertion. So actually assertion, it is used to specify additional types of constraints that are outside the scope of the built-in relational model constraints. So some constraints we have already studied. Relational model constraints are there: primary constraint, unique key constraint, or entity integrity constraint, referential integrity constraint. So all those constraints are there in the relational table. So if you write some SQL query, if we violate these constraints, then it will be automatically detected. But there are other types of additional types of constraints that may not that are outside the scope of this built-in relational models constraints. So those are user defined constraints would be there. So for that we have to create assertion to check whether those constraints are there or not. We will be using some create assertion feature. So this is an example for such a kind of thing. So if I want to specify the constraint that the salary of an employee must not be greater than the salary of the manager of the department that the employee works for. So if a particular employee is working for a department and he should not have more salary than his department manager. So that's a constraint. So that cannot be specified in the relational algebra. So this such kind of constraints can be checked using this create assertion. So create assertion can be checked, used to check such kind of things. So this is a statement: create assertion. We will specify the some constraint like this. We have named it as salary constraint. So this is the name for that constraint: salary constraint, salary underscore constraint. We have, this is a user defined name. So these are keywords: create assertion. We are creating an assertion salary underscore constraint for, and it will be followed by the check keyword, check. Okay. So and after for check we have the condition. So this is the condition. So we have to check this condition. So this, the whole thing is the condition. So whatever it is there after the check, which is there in the parenthesis, this should hold true. This should be always true. This should be always true. Whatever inside this parenthesis should be true on every database state for the assertion to be satisfied. For this salary constraint to be satisfied, whenever the database state changes, this should be true. Okay. So we will see what is this not exist. Then this is a general SQL statement: select star from employee, and we are naming as two thing: employee M and department D, where E dot salary should never be greater than M dot salary, and E dot D number equal to D dot D number, and D dot manager SSN equal to M dot SSN. So if this is a condition, if there is a manager in that department and his salary should be the greatest, he should have more salary than all his subordinates. So that's a condition. So this is a salary constraint that will be specified. So we can create an assertion like the salary condition. So whenever that database state change occurs, we have to check whether this salary constraint is satisfied or not. Okay. If that is not satisfied, if this is violated, then automatically that should be modified or drop that change that is taking place. So this can be done. So when we create this assertion, this assertions will also be checked whenever there is an update or anything that will happen to this database state. Okay, so such kind of assertions can be created. This is a simple example. Okay. Then we have triggers in C. So this is an example for this assertion. So how to create this assertion? You have to use create assertion, when we will name it, then we will check it. Check, and this is the condition. And this condition should hold true in all the case. So this salary constraint will be added in the insert table. So salary constraint, you have to check the salary constraint also. So it automatically checks. Whenever you update the salary, it will automatically check this condition. Okay. So for that we use this create assertion. Then we have triggers in SQL. This is another statement that is used in SQL. So this is used to specify the type of action to be taken when certain events occur and when certain conditions are satisfied. So in certain cases, if some condition is violated or not, or if something happens, something else should be taken, some action should be taken. So for that, we can specify this trigger to specify the type of action to be taken when certain events occur and when certain conditions are satisfied. For example, a manager may want to be informed if an employee's travel expenses exceed a certain limit by receiving a message whenever this occurs. So that might be required. So department manager should be notified that this employee has traveled more than he has already used his travel expenses, or if that person has taken maybe 10 leaves together, that may not be permitted in the company. So that manager should be notified that employee has taken this much leave. So such kind of actions should be taken. So such kind of actions, if some condition occurs, this kind of action should be taken, can be written in this triggers, using this triggers in SQL. Okay. So here we have a condition that is used to monitor the database, and while executing a specific stored procedure or triggering other updates, we can make those changes. So if this happens, we have to execute a specific stored procedure, or triggering some other updates will trigger. Okay. So create trigger can be used to solve this problem. Okay, create trigger. So we will see an example. So to check whenever an employee's salary is greater than the salary of his or her direct supervisor in the company database. So whenever an employee salary, so if when we are updating, when we are inserting or updation, only with this triggering happens. So when we insert, when we change the salary, when we insert a new employee record, or when we change the employee salary, or when we change an employee supervisor, this kind of errors can occur. That is, an employee's salary might be greater than the salary of his supervisor. That should not be permitted. Supervisor salary should be more than his subordinates. So when we insert a new employee, his salary I'll mention at 50,000. Maybe his supervisor might be getting only 40,000. Then what action should be taken will be specified by this trigger. Okay. So this is an example for that. Create trigger. So this is the name of that trigger, salary violation. So this is an external stored procedure. So this is external stored procedure that is written. So create trigger is the command that will be used. Salary violation. So that salary violation occurs, this procedure will be called salary violation procedure will be called salary violation procedure will be called. When this should be called? Before we insert or update of salary. When we update, when we insert something or update of salary or super assistant on employee, and what should be done for each row when this new salary, new dot salary greater than select salary from employee where assistant equal to new super assistant, inform supervisor. We will see what is this inform supervisor and all. Inform supervisor new. So this is also an stored procedure. So we will see this trigger. So this is how we create a trigger. Create trigger. We will name that trigger as salary violation. So it should be, we should notify someone. So you should be notifying that supervisor. Okay. So salary violation is the name of the trigger that is being given. So what we have is, actually in this trigger we have event, condition and action. ECA. We call it as ECA. Event, condition and action. Okay, event, condition and action. So what events occur and what is the condition for that, and what is the action that is to be taken. We will see that in detail, then you will understand that. Event or events. So these are actually usually database update operations that are explicitly applied to the database. So in the example, when we insert a new employee record, or when we change the employee salary, or when we change an employee supervisor, this event can occur. That salary violation can occur. Okay. So the person who writes a trigger must make sure that all the possible events are counted. So we have to find out all the possible events that can occur. Okay, then only we can write this trigger. So these events are specified before the keyword before. So before we can specify this trigger. In certain cases we can use the after keyword also, after. So okay, so I create trigger after. So this is before. Okay, before or after can be used. So that thing will be written here. So these events are, so this is the name of this, and before what this is the event that will be taking insert or update of salary, comma super SSN on employee. So when we insert or update the salary or super SSN, then this event can occur. Okay, this is the event. Okay, this is the event. When we, so whatever that comes before or whatever that comes after will be the event. So this is the event that will happen. Okay. So event, usually database update operations that are explicitly applied to the database. Then on there will be a condition also. So this condition actually determines whether the rule action should be executed. So once the triggering has occurred, we can have an optional condition that can be evaluated. So if no condition is specified, the action will be executed, whatever the action that will be executed. So once the event occurs, if that condition is specified, it is evaluated first, and only if it evaluates to true, then the rule action will be executed. Okay. So the condition is specified in the when clause of the trigger. So condition here, it is specified in the when clause of the trigger. So what it does is, so this is the name and this is the event. This is the event. In event, if we have specified this condition, so this is the condition. So this is actually the condition. So new salary. So whoever that is introduced will have that new dot salary. It should not be greater than, this is the condition, it should not be greater than his supervisor SSN, his supervisor SSN. So this is the condition. So we can, this is an optional field, we need not specify the condition. That's why we have written here, it determines whether the rule action should be executed. If no condition is specified, if you are not specifying any condition, every time that occurs, that event occurs, that action will be taken. So this condition is specified in the when clause. If this condition is specified, then it will check for that condition. If that condition occurs, then action. If that condition is not specified, then whenever this event occurs, then this action will be taken. So here action is usually a sequence of SQL statements. So here we have given the name as inform supervisor. So here this is actually the inform supervisor. This is actually a procedure. It's a stored procedure. So something will happen inside that. So whenever that salary, new salary or new employees, or when we make some update, so this is actually the event that is happening. And if it's satisfying this condition, if that event occurs and if this condition is satisfied, then what should be taken? This is the action, inform supervisor. Okay, this is the action that should be taken. This is actually a stored procedure. It may be a set of SQL statements that will be there, or some other function that will be executed. It can be anything. So this is the thing. So this is the name of that trigger, and this is the event that is going to occur, and we will specify the condition here. If this condition is not specified, what happens is, this is actually optional. So if we are not specifying any condition in the when, what happens is, whenever this event occurs, this action will be taken. This inform supervisor will be taken. Okay. So this is what is trigger. Okay. So if you want to learn more about trigger, that is there in a different chapter in I think it's chapter 21, more about trigger and what all actions to be taken and everything is specified in that. Only thing here in your syllabus, you have to learn what is this create trigger. So you can create triggers like this. So we have already seen event, condition, action. So this is known as ECA. Whenever this event occurs, we will check whether this condition is there. Then if that condition is specified, what action should be taken. So if this condition is not specified, whenever that event occurs, this action will be taken. Another important thing is views, or we call it as virtual tables in SQL, virtual tables. So view is actually a single table that is derived from other tables. So view is actually a table that is derived from existing tables. We call those tables as base tables. Those other tables can be base tables, or it may be some other predefined views. If there is some view and we take some from some elements from that view, then also we get a new view. So view, it is actually a single table that is derived from more from other tables. And these other tables can be called as base tables, or it may be a previously defined views. So these tables are actually existing tables, and these are views are uh, actually virtual tables. They are not existing. Okay. So a view does not necessarily exist in physical form. So it does not exist in physical form. There is no physical table as a view. Okay, it is actually a virtual table. It is actually a virtual table, and so it limits the possibility of update operations. So in a virtual table, we cannot update anything. We cannot change elements in the table. Only thing we use this view is to provide, but it does not provide any limitations in querying a view. So we can view anything. We can view from that table. From that table, we can see or we can retrieve some information, but we cannot update anything in that view table. Okay, so actually it is a table. It is a new table that will be created, and that is a virtual thing. It is just for some purpose we will be creating these views. Okay. So we will see how this virtual queue create views can be done. So this is one example. Create view. We are creating a view. So we have added a view. If it is not there, we will be creating table. Create table. We have already studied. Similar to that, create view, and the name of that view is works on one. And what should be the attributes in this? And the attributes should be f name, last name, p name, and hours. And f name and last name are in employee table, and p name and hours are in project and works on table. So it should be selected from employee, project, works on, where SSN equal to ESSN and P number equal to P number. So satisfying this condition, there will be some first name, last name, and P name and hours, and that will be stored in a new view table. This is a works on view table. So this will be the new works on table, first name, last name, P name, hours, and there will be rows. We cannot make any update operations in this table, but we can retrieve some information. So if I want to constantly query something, all the employees who are working in project number 5 and who are you work for 25 hours, so I may be constantly querying this table. So I can use this works on one table to query such kind of information. If I require only those 4 attributes, I can simply query this works on one table rather than performing all this join operation every time. So we need not specify this join operation every time. We create a view of this type. Now after that, if I want some information related to these 4 attributes, I can simply use the select statement on this works on one table. So that's the use of this create view. But we cannot update this table. Okay. This is another example. Create view department info, where I am renaming it. I am also using these attributes also. Here I am not renaming the attributes. The same attributes will be used here. But here I am creating a view new table. This is a virtual table, department underscore info, and the attributes should be department underscore name, the number of employees, and total salary. And this should be got from as create view as select dname. So dname will be replaced by department name, and count of number, and sum of salary. How it should be? So it should be like this. So it should be grouped by department name. Based on that department name, we have to group it and count it. Okay, and count the number of employees in all those employee tables. So department name, for example, computer science, number of employees 25, and the sum of all those salaries is 1,25,000, like that some value will be there. Then department name EC electronics, then count number of employees will be 25, then sum of salaries will be 5 lakhs, like that we will get a new table. So that table will be called as department underscore info, and these will be the attributes of that column names of that view. Okay, then after this, so this is the thing, we will get department name, number of employees, and total salary. So we get a new table. This is a virtual table, so we cannot make any updations, but we can retrieve any information. We can retrieve information using that select statement. We can retrieve any information from this table. So for that only we create this department information. So it is to write simple queries rather than writing this complex queries by combining join operation and everything. We can simply create a view of that, temporarily create a view of that, and make all queries in this table. Okay, so for that we can use this create view. Then so we can, if you want to have some queries like this, select first name and last name, works from works on, uh, who is working on this project name. We can simply query this works on rather than writing this complex, combining all these tables. I can simply query this works on table. I have to find out the persons who are working in a particular project, that is product X. So I can simply write a query like this. So it is, if we create a view like this, we can simply query like this. Okay, so it is easier to write select from where statements if we create such kind of views. Then if I want to drop that or delete that view, you have to use this drop view works on one. So if I create this, you have already seen drop table. So similar to that, drop view works on one. So that works on one view will be dropped. So that won't be anymore. You cannot use this works on one view anymore. So for that, drop view works on one can be used. So that's all about SQL. And this is a reference. Thank you.